Hello, and welcome to the second recording of a very special Friday edition of the Midnight Launch News Show. I'm David.
And I'm Dan.
For the second time, he's Dan. And we
Second
time's a charm. We have some great guests with us today because today we're going to be talking about Destiny. And first friend of the show, Will. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. And we have Calcio, aka Ronnie. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Dave?
I am doing okay. We have Philip, aka Fucker. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing awesome. Just having this weird deja vu feeling right now.
Weird deja. I don't know what would cause that. But yeah, so we're talking about Destiny 2, the number 2. And guys, a lot has been going on as far as Destiny and Destiny 2 recently, more specifically. They released the developmental roadmap for Season 3 and Season 4, and we have a date for the new expansion called Warmind, which is May 8th. So that's pretty close. That's really close. But first, I want to talk about the developmental roadmap. And guys, let's go from the top. We'll just go straight down. Calcio, what are you most excited about seeing over the next couple months?
Looking at the whole roadmap, Dave, I'm really most excited about the randomizing of the weapons.
Yes.
It brings back that something to strive for. It brings back, gets rid of some of that stale gameplay and gives us something to go after, get that perfectly rolled AR or get that perfectly rolled pulse or what have you.
So I completely agree, and I want to kind of segue into a little story about that. A lot of the great experiences I had in Destiny 1 were through, sort of these, the nightfall strikes, or where you would go farm a certain weapon. And I remember one time we were looking for the Grasp of Malak, and there was, I guess, a quote-unquote bug. I don't know if you guys remember this, or a clever use of game mechanics, where you could kill the boss that would drop the Grasp of Malak before you were ending the strike, like before you were supposed to, and she would drop loot. Do you guys remember that?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you would use it would be
yes,
exactly. It would be a shadow shot or a tether hunter to Celestial Nighthawks, and you would just go in there and you would farm her repeatedly. You would wipe, and then you would keep farming her, and it was great fun. And I met this father and his son who were playing Destiny together, to kind of just, have that father-son bonding activity. And we just sat there chatting for like 2.5 hours. And, I continued playing with them after the fact. And that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the sort of weapon randomization that they had in Destiny 2. Or I'm sorry, that they had in Destiny 1 that they don't have in Destiny 2. That experience wouldn't have been a thing. So I'm really excited for that. Will, what are you excited for?
I'm most excited for the next expansion. Actually,
yeah.
I want more story. I want another raid. I love doing the raids with my groups of friends. So that's what I'm most looking forward to.
So are you excited about learning more about the war mines? Because for me, that's always been something where I can't get enough. I want to know more.
Yeah, the lore in Destiny is awesome, and yeah, I'm always, if there's more lore to learn, more lore to know, I'm definitely for that. I like it when they flesh out the universe.
Yeah, and for me specifically, the war mines, like Charlemagne, Rasputin, just really neat characters and really neat lore behind it. So I'm excited for that. I hope we get to know a lot more about the war mines. Dan, what about you?
I'm going back to the weapon randomization because For me, if you're gonna have me do repetitive gameplay, there needs to be a reason why I'm doing it. There needs to be some goal at the end.
Yes.
And having that randomization gave you a reason to do daily bounties because you were trying to grind up that rep to get the drops from the faction leaders or from shacks or whoever, right? And that gave you a reason just to keep doing that stuff.
Right. Whereas right now you get your weapon and you're done. You're like, well, this weapon is like every single other one that is going to drop if it has the same name. Although,
exactly.
Maybe not with the masterwork system, right?
Yeah, a little bit different. I haven't done too
different.
much. I haven't done too much with the masterwork system personally, so I can't really talk to it that much. But
There's not much to it. Your weapons
No.
create orbs.
Is that it?
That's
yeah,
pretty
like
much it.
I've played around a bit with it, and I'm like, well, this is boring.
You get a little bit of a boost on, one of the stats on it, but nothing major.
Right.
So it definitely doesn't necessarily change the feel or the usability of the weapon like some of those random rolls from Destiny 1 would. It's just more herbs and just a little boost to a certain stat. Is that what we're talking about here?
Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and Dan, to your point about doing repetitive tasks, that was one of the things I remember from Destiny 1 and enjoyed the most about Iron Banner was not just the loot that would drop, because the loot that would drop was pretty excellent for the PvP game mode, but when they had there at the end the perfectly rolled clever dragon.
I remember that.
Yeah. Trying to get that, and you had to grind, you had to play the event to try to get it. And now there just isn't that same kind of accomplishment
So
or drive to.
Well,
to
yeah,
keep
and I
doing
mean,
it.
and that goal comes back to it gives you a reason to keep playing. Whereas right now you log in, on Tuesday you log in, you do all of your weekly I can't remember what they're called now, whatever the events are. Or milestones. You log in, do your milestones, and then you probably get all of them but the raid done on Tuesday, and maybe come Friday or Saturday you do you get the raid one done, and then that's it. There's nothing else to do unless you just like grinding away at nothing.
Right, and just to go back to weapon randomization, because we're all talking about it a lot and we all want to see it back, and it is I'm gonna just kind of move on to myself because it is also what I am most excited about is weapon randomization coming in September, which is a long way away. But I think like when they gave you that perfectly rolled clever dragon, it was like Christmas. Like you woke up, you went to the Destiny subreddit, you saw that is what was dropping during that Iron Banner, and you were like, holy crap. Like
and,
this
what was that one that you wanted, Dave, that you never got and all of us got multiples of?
So
what was it again? I don't remember what it was.
And you get your
That
clever
commodity
dragon and you're just
I don't believe that was the name.
You're so excited. I'm not gonna name that weapon in passing. We'll just go ahead and move on. Wah wah wah. My friends here are just rubbing the salt in the wound. I never got a doctrine of passing. I tried so hard. I suffered through so many trials matches carrying these guys, and I never got a doctrine of passing. And I think all of them got at least like 2 or 3 of them, maybe more.
I only ever got one, and it wasn't until later. It wasn't until the new set of weapons came out. So yeah, I was with you.
Yeah, it was.
David, I can't imagine how you felt when the first time I played Trials, I had a Doctrine of Passing, and it was the God roll.
Philip,
I can't imagine how you felt.
I was just so happy for you because you're such a close friend, and I was just happy that you were happy. I was not homicidal or murdery whatsoever. That was.
I'll let you watch me dismantle mine. If that'll help.
Man, that mute button is looking really nice right now. And all right, so let's move on to Philip. Philip, what are you most excited about?
Well, I mean, since we all talked about weapon randomization, I'll pick something different.
Multi-emote wheel.
Yeah,
No,
that sounds fun.
that
No, I'm looking forward to the the heroic strike modifiers, the nightfall challenge cards. I think that kind of stuff is getting repetitive too, and adding those modifiers to the heroic strikes, that makes you choose different weapons. That makes you choose a different loadout. You got to work with your team on figuring out what the best loadouts are going to be for that particular strike, and it brings something different to the game that you got to think about every time you play the strike, rather than now it's just you go in with the same loadout,
Mhm.
the same subclass, and
So
knock out the strike.
have they expanded on Nightfall challenge cards? Do we know what those actually are? Because I don't know what those are.
Not really, but I'm hoping that they're something that if you achieve certain challenges, that you get specific rewards.
Okay.
Almost like the record books were in Destiny 1, where you complete certain things in your record book and then you earn some sort of reward from it.
Okay.
That's what I'm hoping it is.
So
I don't know if
maybe
any of the other
like
guys have more.
kill X number of enemies within a certain time frame, or only kill this boss using physical damage weapons, something like that, or kinetic damage. Excuse me.
Er- Earlier, I can't remember exactly when it was in this whole we gotta change Destiny 2 thing, but they were. I remember on Twitter, I think it was, they were saying how they wanted to like some of the challenges they were thinking of is like if you go through the Nightfall with a certain loadout, like hand cannon, sidearm, shotgun, or something like that.
Okay.
But I think they backed off on that when I think there's a bit of an uproar against that. I think it's kind of leaning towards stuff like that.
Because I mean, I think there's. So we've seen, at least from Blizzard, we've seen a huge push to creating replayability through additional modifiers, and not quite like the heroic strike modifiers where it's just your weapons cool down, or your grenades and your supers cool down more quickly, or you've got like an arc burn modifier. But there's abilities that completely change the ways that fights will work. So, like areas that you need to move out of, certain mechanics that healers or DPS or tanks need to take care of specifically. And so I wonder if they're kind of taking a page out of the playbook of Blizzard, which they did with, like Diablo 3, we had the Keystones, and now on World of Warcraft, we have like the Mythic Plus dungeons with their modifiers. We'll have to see. I'm excited. I wish we had some more information. I think they said April 24th they're going to be doing a stream. Is that correct? I might have the date wrong.
I think that's right.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
So I think we're
That's when you
supposed
do
to
the
have a
game
stream,
play.
and maybe we'll get some more information on all of that. But I'm looking forward to everything on this developmental roadmap. I want to ask you guys a question, and I'm actually going to go down the list. And I think a lot of us played Destiny 1. I know Will did. I know
Just a
Dan
little bit.
did.
Yep.
Philip did.
Sure did.
last year. Okay, so we've all played Destiny 1. Ronnie, what is the one thing on this developmental roadmap where you are like, this shit was in Destiny 1, how can you just now be putting it back into Destiny 2?
Do I have to name just one?
You have to name just one, because we've got 4 other people that need to pick something as well. So, okay, you can pick 2. What?
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna pick bounties, because bounties was a thing in Destiny 1,
Mhm.
and for a lot of the reasons we talked about, I think it was an integral part of the gameplay.
Mhm.
And not to be repetitive, But I'll say, I'll be repetitive. Okay, what the randomization of the weapons. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how that wasn't in the way they ended Destiny 1, where they brought in the elemental primary
Oh, the
weapons
exotics.
was
Yeah.
well,
Oh goodness.
just from doing the raids again,
Yeah.
right? And if
Yep.
you did the challenges and you'd get the elemental primaries, that was ingenious. But then
Mhm.
they go and they scrap it, and they come up with this entirely new weapon system where you have a kinetic and an elemental, and then you have
Mhm.
the equivalent of what used to be a secondary weapon as now your power ammo. So you can't run hand cannon, sniper, rocket launcher.
Mhm.
And oh, by the way, where's my machine guns?
Mhm.
You know, so that's what I'd say. Why wasn't that stuff? They had gotten, in my opinion, that formula so right at
Mhm.
the end of Destiny 1 that what they did in Destiny 2 was just so wrong.
I'm giving you a hallelujah right now, man. I absolutely agree with everything you said. Will, how about you?
It's what's already been implemented with the 1.14 is
Mhm.
the ability uh, charge increase or the decrease
Mhm.
in the time to get your abilities.
Yep.
Um,
It.
in like early in Destiny 2, it was like I found myself playing Crucible matches and getting my super, but not using, and then realizing I had 10 seconds left. I hadn't used my super because I was saving it for that perfect moment because you
Mhm.
only got one
Right.
during a match. Or running PvE and running through a strike and not using it because you didn't know if you're going to have it in time when you first started fighting the boss or whatever.
Mhm.
In Destiny 1, I actually ran one of the raids a couple nights ago, and I was like, man, I can throw a grenade every 25 seconds. This is amazing, and I could smash again.
Mhm.
Um, so
But Will,
that
remember, part of that was just the way that they had the attributes of your character, though, too. Your armor mattered. Your armor reduced the cooldown of your super, reduced the cooldown of your grenades in your melee. You don't have
well,
that
they
now either.
well, you do kind of because you have the mods for your armor, but it's not to the same extent, right? Like it increases the charge rate a little bit, but things were just so much faster in D1
Mm-hmm.
than they are in D2. Like I felt like I could wreck stuff in Destiny 1, and now I'm like, well, I'll shoot it, and I'll shoot that too, and I'll shoot that, and my super's up, but I'm gonna wait because I might need it at that one perfect moment, and not want to waste it if that fails, right?
I feel like Destiny 2, at least prior to 1.14, the Go Fast update, it has felt like you've been playing the game with trickle on. You know, that modifier that would slow down everything.
Oh, trickle.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone loves and remembers trickles. We all have great and fond memories about it.
That's a great
And
analogy, Dave.
yeah, and it just I'm trickle was not fun. Like,
No, it wasn't.
like that's the
Absolutely not
bottom
fun.
fucking line. Everyone was like, "We hate trickle." Bungie, why
But
are you doing this to us?
it made it a challenge, and it was once every now and then you encountered trickle, right? And so it was okay to put up with, right? Okay, I'm going to do the nightfall. It's got trickle, but
I
I'll get
only have
through
to
it
do
and
it
I'll get my
once.
nightfall
We'll get
reward.
through it, and then I won't see it on rotation for how 3, 4, 5 more weeks.
Yeah.
Trickle 24/7, 365 is obviously something completely different.
Your guardians feel stunted in Destiny 2, and it's a bit better now with the 1.14.
It is a bit better. I think they said it was like lopping 25% off the top. So everything recharges 25% faster. Don't quote me on that number. I could be wrong. But it definitely feels quite a bit better. Dan, what are you excited about seeing come back?
I don't know who went, hey, you know what's working really great that we should mess around with? Let's mess around with let's mess around with how many people can be in the Crucible at the same time. You know what? 6v6 is just too many people. There's too much going on.
Look, I mean, here's the deal. If you can put 6v6 on last gen consoles, you obviously have to go down to 4v4 when you've got like the new gen consoles because they just
Clearly.
can't handle it. You just can't
Yeah.
handle it.
Not to mention
Unless
the
they're
PCs,
sucking
right?
memory somewhere else in the
Yeah.
in the new Destiny, but
That drove
yeah,
me
I found
up
that
the
strange.
wall when they said, hey, we're gonna do it so it's 4v4.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, that is a terrible decision.
Everything within Destiny is based on, at least within Destiny 1, it was based on multipliers of 3.
Yeah.
And then to have something go from 3 to 4 to 6 in Destiny 2, it just felt really, really weird. And I don't know if it was like, hey, if we reduce the number of combatants in a PvP match to 8, we can reduce the size of maps, which would decrease development time because we can make smaller maps versus the larger ones in Destiny 1. You know, I don't know what the reason was, but 4v4 was probably my least favorite change as far as Destiny 2 is concerned.
It was just bad. Like for our group here, that there's 5 of us, that means that, oh, sorry, one person's sitting out.
And that sucks so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. And back then, it was easy enough to find that 6th friend. We all had friends list where we could pick a 6th up and actually go in with a full fire team if we wanted to.
Sure. It's much harder to kick someone out.
Yes,
Right?
exactly. It's much
Unless you're the fire
harder
team.
every night for me to go, Philip, I'm sorry, you got to warm the bench.
Yeah,
bro.
it's
You're
normally me,
just
let's be honest.
Go watch the
I'm not-
stream
I'm not
and be
the
a
best
coach
at
for us.
football. I get it.
There can only be one Titan, Philip. There can only be one Titan.
Sorry, man. You just gotta warm the bench with your little Titan towel and so on and so forth. All right. Well, Philip,
It's
what?
a loincloth, David. Loincloth.
Whatever. Same difference. Look, for me, it was the dress because I always wore the one from the first raid, which was the Elsa dress. You know the Titan cloth I'm talking about. That was like blue and
Mm-hmm.
and starry and stuff. That
Dave, it sounds like you
It's
just need to
not.
let it go.
Nice one, Dan.
I see what you did there.
never gonna let Doctrine of Passing go. It's never gonna happen. Be salty forever. Philip, what are you most excited about seeing come
All
back?
right, so a couple things. The one that came out in 1.1.4, the Go Fast update, the Nightfall unique rewards,
Mm-hmm.
that gave me a reason to go grind a Nightfall. Will and I grinded a Nightfall this week to get the hand cannon. I don't remember, but it looks like a pretty awesome hand cannon.
Right.
And that was something that you could do in Destiny 1. I think we already talked about grinding for the Grasp of Malik. You know, same deal. That came back. The other thing I'm actually kind of excited about is the private matches. And the reason I say that is because I remember in Destiny 1 going into a private match with you, David, taking out my Doctrine of Passing and just wrecking you with it.
I don't remember that. I don't think that ever happened. I think you're making shit up, man.
There's got to be an Xbox recording somewhere.
Oh, I was actually, that was gonna be what I was gonna pick. I'm really excited about the private matches coming back, just because I had a lot of fun in PvE, and obviously I had a lot of fun in Crucible. But there's something about just going into a private match, 3v3, and having everyone be like one of your best buds, and then like being able to team up with 2 of your best friends and then talk shit about killing 3 of your other best friends, and just kind of have that environment where no matter what happens, like, you have a stake in it. Like, you either got killed by one of your best friends or you just killed your best friend. So no matter what happens, it's emotionally charged, and you're like, God damn it, Philip just killed me again with that Doctrine of Passing. Or you're like, ha ha ha, Philip, I just sniped you from across the map. Have fun looking at your Doctrine of Passing while you respawn, bitch. So,
and you can record it, and put it on.
Yes,
your
and
feed on Xbox,
and you can share it, and you can, send it to your friends and laud it over them for a very, very long time. I honestly, I can't believe private matches weren't available at launch. That's just, It's so weird because it came so late at the end of the Destiny 1 development lifecycle. You'd think that would have been one of the things that they were concurrently working on implementing in Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 as they were developing it. Like, it wasn't a relic. It was relatively late in its introduction. So, that's...
Well, that makes me wonder what kind of communication went on at Bungie when they're like they must have made some calculated decisions early and just stuck to them, because a lot of the stuff that was in the later Destiny 1 just wasn't put into Destiny 2, and it was really strange. It's like, nope, this is the path we're taking with Destiny 2, and we're holding to it. As great as Destiny 1 is, nope, we're doing this.
Yeah, and to that point, I came into Destiny 1. You came in a lot earlier than I did, Will. You were probably there from the beginning. I came in
day one.
When I came in on the Taken King expansion. Yes, thank you. English is my second language. I came in that expansion, and Destiny 1 had a lot of content by then. And even still after that, there was a lot of good updates. And so going to Destiny 2, I was just very disappointed in how much Destiny 1 had above and beyond Destiny 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a hard thing to keep in perspective as someone that comes in at the tail end of Destiny 1. Because you didn't see,
you didn't see the beginning.
Vanilla Destiny 1, where the people that were playing Vanilla Destiny 1 and then started playing Vanilla Destiny 2 are like, well, this is kind of what I expected. Like, there's some content, there's probably not as much as I would like, but and then seeing Destiny 1 get built up over time to be this absolute monolith of a video game with a ton of content, it's almost even worse for the people that were there on day one to see it all crumble down. And then to play Destiny 2 and be like, all of this time that I've invested in this company, all this time that I've invested in this video game and this world, I just lost 75% of it. And I'm supposed to be happy?
Well, yeah, it was like as you're like an early adopter of Destiny, it was like you saw the improvements. Like, they figured it out. They knew how they knew what their mistakes were, and they made it better. They made something great. So why would you even expect the sequel to be a regression? Like,
well, why would you expect it to be a regression, especially when it went through a couple of delays in production too? For me, I came in with Philip, Taken King, so there was a lot of content. There was all the exotic sword quests. There was the Black Spindle quest. Those are elements that really don't exist, right? The daily heroic story that you had to do, and you had to do it that day. Otherwise, the chance was gone. All these things that they're not there, but they kept delaying, and they kept saying, trust us, it's going to be good, we're going to get it right, we're going to make sure we're going to get it right. And then they give us what they gave us, and just for a fan of the Destiny franchise, it was just deflating. It was deflating. But to their credit, it can't all be bad, but to their credit, they are still listening to their community. I think they'd be foolish not to. And so they're making a lot of these changes because of the feedback. But are the changes coming soon enough? Are the changes going to be enough for the already deteriorated player base? That's going to be the question to be answered over the next couple of months, quarters.
That's a good segue into a question that I want to ask all of you. There have been a lot of people on the internet saying Destiny 2 is dead. Okay, they've already got the tombstone. They've already dug the grave. They've tossed Destiny 2 in there, and they're like, it's done. It's done. So my question to you guys is Destiny 2 dead, or is this game too big to fail? Will Activision not let this game fail no matter what? Let's start with Will. Will, is Destiny dead, or is it going to come back?
Destiny isn't dead, but they've notified the priest to come in and be ready to do last rites. Like, they're waiting for the miracle cure to come in, and resuscitate Destiny 2.
So
September?
so the priest
September
is on
is
call.
like maybe as late as they could push back all these changes or
Mhm.
to set these changes. If it was later than September, which is 1 year,
Mhm.
I think it would kill Destiny for a lot of people. There are new games supposedly coming out. I think Anthem's supposed to come out in first quarter of 2019.
Mhm.
So if they didn't get this done as they're planning to do it,
Mhm.
I honestly think this would be the time when Destiny would actually die.
So
I,
do you
there
think
would be
Anthem's
that.
release date is basically like that line in the sand where if Destiny is not fixed by the time Anthem comes out, it's done? Or do you
Right,
think
because I
it's
think
September?
no, I think if let's say some of these changes didn't make it in, like randomization. Let's say randomization didn't make it in as of September,
Mhm.
dead. Simply because to get it out when the next time they had a chance to release something would be probably early 2019. Too
Mhm.
late. People are going to be gearing up for things like Anthem
Yeah.
and
I think The Division has a new game coming out as well.
Division 2 is
The
coming out.
Division 2
Yep.
is coming out.
yeah, I
So
don't know how soon that is though, but yeah, there's new games and the Division finally, like the Division, they got their stuff right too, just like Destiny did. They did it later, but it also came out later, right?
yeah.
And I don't see them making the same mistakes in their sequel.
Oh, well,
They
I mean,
might,
they've
but
got a
I
giant
doubt it.
fucking case study in Destiny and Destiny 2. So
Mm.
hopefully they won't. Calcio, what do you think?
So, I honestly, Dave, I don't think I can say any better than Will here. I agree with him 100%. I feel like it's not dead yet, but it is close. It's
Mhm.
the corner has been called. Not just the priest to say the last rites. I think the corner's been called because you mentioned Division 2. You got some of Destiny's biggest fanboys and some of their YouTubers and streamers, and they are switching their focus to that Division 2.
Mhm.
They're switching their focus to other games, and so if they don't get their act together, if this, I think it might even be sooner though. I think it might even be sooner than September. September will be the final straw if the randomization doesn't get in there and some of those other things just fall short. But if this expansion falls short by way of content,
Mhm.
then you will see another mass exodus in the player base, in my opinion. And you mentioned Anthem. You got to know EA Sports, like EA Games, they're watching this too. So I venture to guess that was part of why they pushed part of their release date back, was to make sure that they didn't make some of these same mistakes, because they're going to capitalize on this.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned Warmind, and I actually think that's an extremely good point. Warmind is the last chance Bungie has to tell people that, guys, you need to buy our DLC because it is worth the purchase price. Because everyone that got the collector's edition, everyone got the season pass when they bought Destiny 2. You know, expansion 1 and expansion 2, that's it. You know, any more income that Bungie is going to get is going to be based on the success or failure of the Warmind expansion. So I think that's a really really good point
Mhm.
that you bring up there. Dan, what do you think?
I can't remember. Do they have like a full expansion coming in September? Have they announced anything about that?
Season 4, I believe, is supposed to be like a
Like
Taken
Taken
King
King,
size expansion.
yeah. I think
Yeah, I
that
don't think
that'll
anything's
be.
official, but
I think if they have one of those in September, that'll be make or break, because people will look at it as the same idea as the Taken King, because the Taken King is where Destiny got better
Mm-hmm.
and grew into the thing that all of us love.
Mm-hmm.
If an expansion like that comes out for Destiny 2 and it doesn't do as well as the Taken King did, then it's done.
Mm-hmm. And
And
Philip?
then, yeah.
I tend to agree with all three of you guys. I think it's on life support right now. I'm just thinking about, towards the end there with Destiny 1, we were all playing every week. We were doing the raid every week, and we have a really good group of friends that does all those activities every week, and we were doing that with Destiny 2 as well. But the last month or two, even this core group of guys and girls that were playing Destiny every single day, every week, we were doing the raids,
Mhm.
we're not doing that unless somebody gets on our Facebook group and says, hey, somebody want to do the raid, and half the time we're going back to Destiny 1 to do a raid in Destiny 1.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's on life support, even for the most loyal fans out there. I do tend to agree with you, David, that this Warmind expansion is going to be extremely important, because you're right. A lot of people pre-ordered it, so pre-purchased it, and if it's not good, I don't think they're going to pay for that September update
Yeah.
or expansion.
No, and I agree with you guys. I don't think I would put the nail in the coffin until Anthem releases. I think Anthem can be the Destiny killer, like the legitimate Destiny killer, the game that comes out and the vast majority of the Destiny fan base is just like, yeah, you know what? We've given you guys, God, how many years has it been to get your shit together, starting with Destiny 1? I mean, 4 or 5 years. It's been a long time, and these guys are releasing this brand new game. It looks like it's got everything that we've asked from you, and we're just done with it. So we we will see. I don't want that to happen, though. I think there is room in the gaming industry for both Destiny 2 and Anthem to coexist and have thriving and successful user bases and people playing both video games at the same
Oh.
time.
Well, and
totally
you
would.
want both to do well, because it's like saying, "Oh, I want Sony or Microsoft to go belly up,"
Mm-hmm.
with their consoles, because if that happens, then you've only got one major console out there, and then the developers get stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "Nah, why do we need to push this and make it as the best that it can be if we're the only show in town?"
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so
Will,
you want that competition, right? It only makes it better for us at the end of the day.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Do you think, Dan, on the heels of that last statement, do you think that may have been part of Bungie's falter here, is or Activision, where they had a good thing and they got complacent? Because really, if you think about it, in this space, there really isn't another game that's like Destiny. Yeah, the Division, the first go around was had some similarities to it, but there wasn't really anything that competed with it, given that it was a massive scale PvE, PvP kind of game.
I think that it being lightly unique in the way that it was really the first open world MMO shooter, for more or less open world.
Yeah.
That might have a little bit to play into it, but it's actually funny because Will here lent me a book that basically talked about various developers or studios making their games and the background on them, and one of them was Destiny. And kind of what you saw with that was there was one guy going, no, it's going to be my vision and my vision only, and then not telling anybody else what that vision was. And I'm wondering if you're still seeing those repercussions from that mindset.
Yeah, I don't think it's a repeat. I think it's just a result of maybe.
Yeah, just kind of echoes of that early issues they had.
Yeah, the book actually that Dan's talking about is called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels by Jason Schreier. He's actually a writer for Kotaku. Even if you don't want to pick up the book, just find it in the bookstore or whatever library, and just read the chapter on Destiny. It puts a lot of perspective on what went on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got one more question as we close this up. We've been talking for about 40 minutes here. which does not include the 17 minutes that we lost earlier because I actually did not have the recording stuff set up correctly. Go me.
Dave is a big old fail whale.
You're lucky we love you, David.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Speak for yourself, Philip.
So I just, simple yes or no question. Would you recommend Destiny 2 to a friend right now? Calcio, would you?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Will?
Nope.
Dan?
I want to be like the person who's like, I'm gonna be the different person to everybody else, and the only way that I can try and do that is say, if you really like a single player experience and that's all you're interested in, then if it's on sale, sure, but otherwise, no.
Okay, so Dan says wait for a sale, and Philip?
Look, I really, really want to say yes. I really do want to say yes, but I got to go with no. Not right now.
Well, I mean, it looks like Bungie Activision has a lot of work to do. I think we can all agree that we want Destiny as a franchise to succeed. I think we all love this franchise so much. We love the lore. We love the gameplay. Bungie is still second to none when it comes to like the crispness and the feel of the shooting mechanics. They just do such a good job with that. But Destiny 2 thus far has been, I mean, it seems like underwhelming for most of us. So
Yep.
There were some really great parts of Destiny 2, like the story mission. Can't remember the title of the mission, but it's near the end when you're going through the last city, and all of a sudden you meet up with random guardians all doing the same mission. Like there was some
was
really
pretty
good
neat.
things in Destiny 2. Some, like Dan was kind of right. If you're looking for a single player experience, you got enough play out of the story to, I think, maybe make it worth it. But if you're expecting the multiplayer, I don't know, aspect of the game, it fell short.
Yeah, well, you make a great point. The base story was, in my opinion, it was pretty phenomenal, and the soundtrack was incredible. It was really the first video game where I actually went out and bought the soundtrack because I just thought it was that well done. So, you know, and that being your first experience with the game, it gets you energized. So yeah, if you're looking for something like that, then there is some playability there for sure.
So maybe worth $29.99 for the single.
If
player.
that includes all the expansions.
Yeah, if that includes all the expansions, you know, maybe $39.99. Don't necessarily go into it from an aspect of, you know, like the loot hunter or, you know, like the collector of items. But I agree with y'all. I think it had an extremely solid single player campaign. I think, you know, as much as we can get of Fillion is great, and they were definitely like, yeah, he was the best part of Destiny 1, so let's kind of shove him to the forefront. I'll even go out there and say that the campaign in Destiny 2 was better than Destiny 1.
Yes.
Yep.
I absolutely think
more
it was.
coherent story, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I would agree.
But I think that's it. Does anyone have anything they want to bring up in closing? Will, you good?
I think I'm okay. I had some thoughts, but they've kind of left my head. So. Oh, one thing I did, because we all came from Destiny 1. A few weeks ago, I was on the title screen to Destiny, or a character selection screen, and you know how it lets you go and select your memories?
Mm-hmm.
And it shows you how all the different milestones you did in Destiny 1 and who you did them with.
Yeah.
Totally brought back the fields.
Oh, so maybe we should all go back.
Let's just go do Wrath of the Machine.
Well, it even just kind of brought back the feels of how awesome, even Destiny 2, if you combine it with Destiny 1, just the whole thing is like, I wouldn't have known you guys without Destiny.
Oh.
Well, Dad, I would have known
known
me. But if you think about it, what did Destiny do for us? Like, it kind of brought us all
brings people
together.
together.
Man.
Clearly didn't bring us two together.
Yeah, I'm stuck with Dan. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, I'd like
No,
to
you're right.
thank Destiny for all the doctrine of passing ball busting that I've gotten over the past couple of years. Thanks a lot, Bungie. Fucking asshole.
I'd also like to say I miss my hung jury.
Yes.
Yes.
Moment of silence for the hung jury.
Okay, that's it from me.
Calcio, how about you? Any closing comments?
You know, I'll piggyback a little bit off of Will there. I switched consoles just for Destiny. I was a PlayStation guy. I was PS1, PS2, PS3. I made the switch to an Xbox One just to play Destiny. And I found a group of friends that I'm still friends with today play other games with besides Destiny. And so, I will say that it's definitely a game that can bring a community together as much as it can be a game that brings a community apart. But I think that really says a lot about what it's capable of. And I hope it does find its way out of this rut and brings back the things that we all remember, the things that we all enjoyed so thoroughly about the first go around with Destiny 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
That actually reminds me of something I did want to say. Sorry guys, I didn't mean to interrupt. But I've seen a couple streamers put this on their Twitter and stuff, and they say Guardians want to come home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that like nails it.
Wow.
Right there.
Yeah, that's pretty succinct. I agree with that. Dan, what do you think?
I think it's a shame how they kind of left all of us with Destiny 2. Just after, they got everything so right at the end of Destiny 1. And, like it's really easy for me to go, but you know what? Every MMO has, their issues at launch and then it slowly gets better. But it's hard to say that when it's a direct sequel. It's not an expansion, it's a direct sequel.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to be like, I'll give them the benefit that it'll get better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Philip, how about you?
Yeah, so one comment I'll make is, at the end of the development roadmap, the last thing on season 4, September, there's a comment on there. It says "and more yet to be revealed," because I think most of the things on this list really just kind of bring it back to Destiny 1 days.
Yeah.
And so, being a sequel, like Dan said, they got to add more things to make it different and make it its own game and make it better than what we had before. So that's my final thought there.
My final thought is honestly what Will said. I don't think you could say it any better. I want to come home. I want to be playing the game that I remember when Destiny 1 came out, and I understand there were lots of trials and lots of tribulations, but Destiny 2 hasn't given me that same experience and that same feeling that I had when I was playing Destiny 1 for, all of the improvements that there were in Destiny 2. I still think Destiny 1, with all of its foibles, is still the superior title. And, I hope Bungie and Activision can just get us back there, get us back feeling like Destiny 2 isn't necessarily a different game from Destiny 1, but it's just an extension of the Destiny 1 experience, because that's what I want. I wanted more of Destiny 1 when I signed up for Destiny 2, and I don't think that's what I got. That's all I wanted. And that's it, guys. I just want to thank you guys so much for coming on this show tonight and talking Destiny, because that's something that we have not covered on this show. I don't think ever, and it's something that Dan and I have been extremely passionate about from day one. We've been playing it together. It's actually funny, Calcio brought up the fact that he bought an Xbox 360. So Dan bought a PS4 to play Destiny 1 with me, and then he started playing it on the Xbox One. So I ended up buying an Xbox One to play Destiny 1 with him.
Yeah.
And me.
That's funny.
And
There you go.
So, it's a great experience, and we're willing to pay for that amazing experience. But Bungie needs to provide it. So, once again, Philip, Ronnie, Will, thank you so much for coming on to the show tonight and spending some time with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. Thanks for having us.
anytime.
Absolutely. And I'm David,
And I'm Dan.
and we will talk to you guys later.
Hello?
Yeah, I had to interrupt everyone. The fucking desktop audio hasn't been recording the entire time.
Oh no!
You know.
Oh my god, Dave, you're the worst.
There you go.